Peace, peace, everyone. It's your girl Sequoia Blue back in here for another episode. Today we have a special guest on this beautiful Saturday. We have Evan Matthews, a fellow artist. So this should be interesting. How are you doing today, Evan, on this beautiful Saturday?
Oh, great, Sequoia. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you. Just talk everything art world stuff.
That's right. So let's start the first question. Can you share more about your journey in the entertainment industry and the various roles you've taken on?
Oh yeah, that's a big one because I have actually had so many jobs in the entertainment industry, starting with like your most basic job, which is I was a PA and an extra and was interning at Sony Pictures. So I was like doing multiple things at once. All I knew is that I wanted to be around people actually getting the job done. And I was going to school at UC Riverside. So if you're from California, you know about the Inland Empire, and it's like this pocket away from everything. And I knew I had to get out of there, and I would drive to Los Angeles, to Century City, 3 days a week to go to my internship. So I was at this company called Phoenix Pictures, and they're on the Sony lot. And this is pretty typical. You'll see any of these big studio lots, and they'll have all these subsidiary companies there, all like making product for the parent company, which they're under. Like, for instance, like Universal Studios, that's where DreamWorks used to be. That's where Amblin Films used to be, or still is, for Steven Spielberg. So that's how these big studios work, right? So I was there interning, and that's where I was spending a bulk of my time for like my first entertainment job. So it went from working in like the story department, your typical intern level, where you're just making tons of copies of scripts and circulating them and getting coffee and just feeling about this big in the world of film, and
Yep,
doing
I know that.
right, like mindless data entry, but you do it and you're so excited because you're a fresh face and you're so thrilled to be there. But because I was there so early, because I was commuting and I would stay so late to wait out the traffic, I was putting in all this extra time with all the other employees there and all the other assistants. So I moved my way up to be on the executive's desk, Mike Medavoy, who's the president of the company. So
Mm.
Mike Medavoy, he's famous for like, he wrote this great book called You're Only as Good as like Your Next Movie. And he has like 8 best picture Oscars. So you like go in his office and it's just like crazy Hollywood
Wow.
everywhere. You have like, he's got like this big glass case with the Hook from Hook, and you see like all these celebrities are always going in and out of his office. And it was just wild. And
Wow.
it was a cool job. It was terrifying because I would have like agents and managers calling, and I was
Oh.
to get something wrong because the assistant was like on a cigarette break or something. So I'm just answering the phones, and they need to move fast, and I'm in the way, and I'm getting yelled at. I'm like, I'm sorry, what's your name? How do you spell
Oh
that?
my goodness.
I was just so much emotional damage so early. But it
Oh
was
my
great.
goodness.
I'll tell you this one story because it's kind of funny. So this one call comes in, and it's this raspy older man who's calling. He goes, "Hi, is Mike there?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Mike's not available. He's in a meeting right now. Can I take a message?" He's like, "Yeah, just let him know that Marlon called, and I know that he's got a colonoscopy later today, and don't worry, they're just gonna stick a giant hose in your ass." And I was just, I can't say that to my boss. I'm already intimidated when I see him come in the door all the time. And the assistant comes in off the patio. I'm like, so this guy called and said I'm supposed to give him this message, and I read it word for word. She's like, "Oh yeah, you have to give that to him. That's Marlon Brando." So I give the message,
Dang, Marlon.
right? Yeah, I give the message to Mike, and he just laughs. He goes, crumples it up, moves on with his day. But that was a trip because 2 weeks later, Marlon Brando passed away. And I didn't
Oh.
realize how close those two really were until Mike was giving the eulogy at his funeral. Anyway, so that's like me. That's like enter Evan.
Mm.
First experience in Hollywood is like this internship. And then
Yeah.
I went from there to be an extra on the show 24. That used to be on Fox. And
Mm. Yep.
and I moved up into production because I didn't really want to be an extra. It was great. I was like, I just want to get the experience. It's kind of
Yeah.
fun. It's like very low stakes, but you get to like be on sets and all that. But it
Mhm.
was so like scattershot that I thought, okay, how can I really get behind the scenes here? So
Mhm.
PA opening, I got the PA job through the help of my mother's second cousin's husband. Helped me get this PA job on 24, and I was just totally thrown to the wolves. Like, talk about just
Wow.
going into the fire. So to go from, like, all these other types of jobs to all of a sudden you're working 16-hour days in
Mm.
like different corners of the worst parts of Los Angeles. Because I don't know if you remember the show, but in 24 it's a
Mhm.
show on the run, and you have like
Mhm.
stage days, which is like, one is like the president's office and the other one's like CTU, where it's like the counter and like terrorist unit, right? So very few stage days. Everything's on location all the time. So it was brutal.
I
Long
can
day,
imagine.
constant moves. Everyone's mad at you because you're shooting in their neighborhoods, right? Like,
Mhm.
it was easier to shoot like in downtown LA by Skid Row than it would be to shoot in Beverly Hills, if you could believe
Yeah,
it.
I can imagine that.
Everyone in Beverly Hills is like, "What are you doing on my
They're
show?"
more particular downtown because
And
I
we have
mean,
to we're like,
in Beverly Hills.
we have to remind them, like, you live in Los Angeles. We're making movies
Yeah.
all the time in TV shows. But it was fun. I did with a smile on my face. The crew was like, "We love guys like you because you have all this energy and you remind us why we're here in the first place." So that was fun. But after that season, I went on. I worked on an MTV like hybrid reality scripted show called "Blowing Up with Jamie Kennedy,"
Mm,
and Jamie Kennedy, he was in what was that movie called? It's like Malibu's Most Wanted. He played a rapper
sounds
called B.
familiar.
Brad.
Oh yeah, him.
Yeah,
He was
yeah, he was
so funny.
you're right. Yeah, he's really funny. So he was like, he wanted to make this show where he's like really, like truly pursuing a rapping career, and he's got his little hype man with him, and they're like trying to like navigate the system, and like the reality portion is like they're like going finding other celebrities and like kind of like punking them a little bit to try to build street cred and get like notoriety. It was a ridiculous show, but it was so fun. And I was a key PA on that, so I had like jumped into a new rank on there, and
Oh
then I kind of
wow.
and then I bounced around a couple of PA jobs, just like building credits until I landed my first executive assistant role at Mark Burnett Productions on the
Mm,
show The Contender, which was a boxing show, which was just awesome. That was like, talk about a show just full of like brimming with heart, because you have all these
mm,
boxers that have like these crazy backstories and like of pain
mm,
and suffering and loss, and this is like their redemption chance, like on this show, and getting all these fights.
mm.
And the thing is, you end up rooting for everybody. Everyone's got everything on the line, so everyone's crying
Yeah.
all the time because like someone has to win and someone has to lose, and the loser has to go to their family, and everyone's crying, and like that was everything on the line. And the next so that was a great experience. And we did this other
Mm.
show called Rockstar, so we're simultaneously doing two shows, which is really fast moving, a lot of moving parts. Again, that was my first executive assistant role. I was terrible at it. It was so bad.
You have to start somewhere.
I did have to start somewhere, and like being that executive, we were butting heads a little bit, and she was great, and I had to learn on her desk, and I was sorry for that, but it ended up getting me a promotion to Mark Burnett's desk directly, and he's like the king of like reality television. He's got
Yeah, he
his
sounds familiar, Mark Burnett. I
yes,
think
it's
he
like he
didn't he
creates.
do produced was it Shark Tank?
Yes, yeah, yeah. So I
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
that. So we produced like Survivor, Apprentice, Shark Tank, The Voice, the Bible series, the MTV Movie Awards, the
Mm,
Emmys, like every like all these big shows, and that includes Contender and Rockstar, and then the one I really stayed on for is a show called On the Lot. It didn't do very
mm,
well. It was a DreamWorks co-production with us, where we're trying. It was a competition-based show trying to find like next emerging filmmaker, and it was every week everyone had to make like 1 to 2 minute long short films. I was like,
oh
I'm
wow.
sticking for this. Like, if I'm going to be in the reality world, it's for this particular show. So me and Mark had like a little agreement. This is what I'm here for. And he's like, cool. You can have special access. You could like go be on set the most and greet the celebrity guest judges that are directors. And Carrie Fisher was on that show, and it's one of the
Oh
judges.
man.
So that was cool. Like, be with like Princess Leia. And I was like such a nerd around here because I was such a huge Star Wars fan at the time. And I was always so awkward. It was so awkward. I'm never awkward, but I was with her for some reason because
Yeah,
I'd watch.
sometimes certain people you get shy around over others. You're like,
Yeah,
okay, I'm nervous.
because you know it's like if you're around, like if you're in New York or LA and you see celebrities around, you're like, okay, all right, they're here doing their thing, and they're people too. And every once in a while, like someone shows up, and you're like, oh, that person has had an impact on me in my life
Yeah,
in
that's
some
how it was when I was on the set of Mandalorian. I was background, feature background, and I remember I
cool.
met the I forgot his name, but I met the guy that played in Rocky. What's his name? The original Rocky, the black guy that played Mandalorian.
What?
I can't remember his name, but he's an older guy now. But
Yeah,
I met him, and he was really cool, just down to earth, talking about travel stories and stuff like that. And I was just like, okay, it kind of gave me that experience. But I was a little nervous around him. I was like, oh my goodness, I
so
saw him when I was a little girl.
Carl Weathers.
Yeah, him.
Carl Weathers. Yeah. Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah,
Still
yeah,
got it.
yeah. I was
That
sitting here like, why can't I remember his name right now?
Carl Weathers is so awesome. He's so
Yeah.
black because I when the Mandalorian came, first of all, I love especially season one. Like I was like, Star Wars is back. Here we go.
Yes.
They got the flavor profile right for this one. And Carl Weathers just I would love to just see him in more stuff because he
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
right because he was like he was in Rocky, he did Predator, he was in Happy Gilmore where he was like Chubbs with the missing hand, right?
Oh, I didn't know he was in Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, yeah, he was like the golf pro that had like that gator bit his hand off, so he's got like his like backstory that's all hilarious and messed up. And he had his own
Mhm.
arc in Arrested Development. So I'm so he's just like I don't know, I'm just a nerd because I always thought he was great and should do more. Maybe I should
Yeah.
cast him in something I do because
Yeah,
I
you
feel like
should cast them because it's like, and it's funny because me being an actress and trying to get roles and stuff. It takes a lot, it's a lot of people trying to audition, and that's the thing that people understand. That's what I want to bring up too today is that you just don't give up because it's a process, and it doesn't mean you're a bad actor or actress. It just might mean that that's just not wasn't a fit for you. And
yeah,
so, but it just takes time, and that's why I had to segue into. I was going to ask you this about the writer's strike, but we're gonna finish your story first. But I do want to ask you about your thoughts on the writer's strike too. After that, after you tell us.
yeah, that's a whole other thing. But yeah, it's interesting though because even after we get caught up in this, I'd love to talk about like the actor's process and what it's like for me as a director and what we're looking
Yeah,
for in the room. And so we'll get there. We'll get there.
yeah.
But let's not forget. We'll come back to that. But so I worked for Mark Burnett, and then I graduated off his desk and became a producer. I was producing the MTV Movie Awards, and that was
Mhm.
fantastic. But still, like my heart was not fully in it. I was loving what I was doing. The people were fantastic, and I just knew that I always wanted to be a filmmaker. And you feel like you're on this boat going in this direction. You want to be on the boat going that way.
Mhm.
So I'm like, oh, I have to like roll the dice and toss in this career with a good paying job and everything to pursue my ultimate goal dream of directing. And I knew if I'm going to leave, I'm going to go to if I can get into USC School of Cinematic Arts, if I can go to like the number one film school in the world where all my hero filmmakers went, like all the people that made these blockbuster impression leaving films from like the 70s, 80s, and 90s, like that's where I want to go. That's who I want to learn from. So
Mhm.
I had to spin some plates. I got in, and it's very competitive. It's like 48 students get in like a year. I was one of them, so it's very, very competitive
Wow.
program. And but I had a gap of time from when I left Mark to when I was going to get it start at USC. So I found one of my director friends through my brother. I have a twin brother who's also working in the industry. He was working on a show called CSI New York, uh,
Mm.
and so he had me come to set a whole bunch, and that was always fun. And I befriended a director there who's like a rotating guest director. And then I got to shadow him on 6 episodes of different TV shows to kind of
Mhm.
see what a journeyman director is, what he does, how he casts, how he shoots, how he prepares, how you go into post, like all of these things, how you troubleshoot situations, how you deal with a crew turning on you, like all kinds of
Oh.
crazy stuff. Because in TV, you inherit a crew. You're not bringing your people like when you make an indie film
Yeah.
or a short film. You're like, I'm walking into whatever they've already told me I have to work with, and that comes down to cast. Now you can get to cast all your like your guest stars and co-stars and stuff. So
Mhm.
that's the fun of that. So I took that experience, all the working experience, everything, knowing what it's like to work 16 plus hour days into film school. And now you're like operating on a whole other level when you get in there. Like you're ready to run and just go through walls, but you also I had to be humbled and submit to the process because I'm already like,
Mhm.
oh, I'm so like far ahead. Like, if you want to make Academy Award level type of quality work, like you're going to have to unlearn a lot of what you learned and start
Mhm.
this emotional journey and go from there. So
Mhm.
like this will lead right into the whole acting side of things, because this is where I will start to take like my first acting classes and
Ooh.
really start to think from an actor's perspective and point of view and what it is, what's the actor's work. So some of my directing teachers would really delve deep into that. Other ones were more like production based. Other ones were more cinematography based. And then you have all of those disciplines that break out because you have to edit, you have to DP, you have to do sound design and sound mixing. Like you
Mhm.
have to actually do every single role in film school. And a lot of people go in, everyone wants to be a director, and you get like, a semester or two in, and actually people are like, oh, I actually want to be a cinematographer. That's what I thought a director did.
Mhm.
I want to be a cinematographer, especially because a lot of people are intimidated by working with actors. And I don't blame
Wow.
them. They can be wild animals. You're like, what kind of horse
I
is
can
this?
imagine.
Right? Like, what kind of training do they have? Are they totally wild? Like, how do we get? You can't, but you can't. I mean, I get that at first, but you have to get past that phase as a director.
You really do.
Yeah, and it was the emotional journey and arc and that work made me realize I can't even totally focus on directing here. I actually have to
Mhm.
focus on screenwriting. So halfway through the program, I completely switched gears and made it all about screenwriting. So I ended up getting like a dual emphasis in directing and screenwriting. So I fulfilled the master requirement for both. And I took all that
Wow.
experience like into my thesis film, because I was one of the few directors that got selected to actually make one. Because you don't just go and make one at USC. Like there's 6 spots to make a thesis film, and then you can satisfy your master's requirement by serving as other key department roles like production design or a cinematographer, producer, or writer. And I was like, I'm doing both. I'm going to write my feature length screenplay,
Mhm.
drafts of that, plus I'm going to do this incredibly ambitious, the most ambitious film that had gone through USC Film School, by the way, where they used it as marketing material for what you can make at this school. And it was this
Wow.
film called Recoil, which is this poster right there.
Oh, it's nice.
I can't really see it. It's
It's
cut
kind
off.
of blurry, but it
Yeah,
still looks nice because I like art. So
right,
it's
I
like
know I see stuff in the background. I'll send you, if you want. I can send links and you could share it for that. But that movie ended up,
yeah.
it first of all, it almost totally broke me and made me like not want to even do this career because it was
Oh.
so hard. I had so many hard. I straddled the line of failure for like 2 years straight, like just
Oh man.
totally insane. Like talk about like if you really want it, this is the movie you prove you really want it on. In the end, I ended up going to like over 50 festivals around the world. We got like 2 nominations for awards, won 10. I got representation off of it, and took that right
Wow.
out of school and got to work like writing screenplays and doing a bunch of other odds and end jobs like editing stuff and working on fashion magazines and like DVDs and documentaries and working as like behind the scenes filmmaker, like all these different like jobs. Like so this has been like a
Mm,
crazy journey of like 14 years of just plugging away, staying on the path of directing
that's
and being like
amazing.
that's where I'm going. And I want to give you this piece of advice into your audience, like anyone who like really wants to go into the field. You don't have to go to film school. I actually recommend against it because there's so many of these like workshops and incubators and programs at studios and other places or special interest group places where they will fund you and sponsor you to like grow your career. So I
Mhm.
ended up finding a group. It was called like the Smash Cut Film Lab. And I ended up making short films with them. And like, instead of me doing the fundraising, they have donors who have money there. And you go through like a mock studio program where you pitch and write and develop, and then you go off and shoot it and do
Mm.
that thing. So I did a handful of those. They're out there. You just gotta go look. Like don't spend money on film school or higher education. Like go do that stuff.
Yeah, I wouldn't have went to the Art Institute of Atlanta if I had known what I know now. Now I'm in
Oh,
debt,
right?
and I'm like, "Why did I do that? I shouldn't have."
Right.
And that was for audio production more so, but I was learning about video production because I was around video producers and stuff, but I was like, "Why did I go here? I could have just took a trade or something like that or gotten a trade or something." But, and so I try to tell people now, young people, just really think things through depending on what you wanna
Mhm.
do, because you don't want to.
Yeah, it's not what it used to be, like higher education. It used to be like, oh, you have a guaranteed result, like, oh, you get that degree, you get that paper in hand, and all of a sudden you're validated and capable, so you should get job X, Y, and Z, right? It's not
Yeah.
like that anymore. They're like, oh, this is a nice detail for your life, but we need like practical experience, or you got to just do it on
Hmm.
your own, whatever. So I will say, like, going to USC, I definitely got to compress time, like wearing all the hats, doing all the roles, learning that I needed to focus on screenwriting, having the free time for myself for the first time in like several years, where I could say, I'm just gonna these are the years of Evan where I can be in this bubble and create and focus on me and my career path. That is the one big benefit there. If
Yeah.
you're so there are pros and cons. I think there's more cons. I think the big con is I had to like self finance and take out a ton of loans, and I would hate to
Yeah.
see anyone sink themselves further into debt, because then you're like an indentured servant for the rest of your life.
Yeah. And especially if you have to like raise funding or get funding for your films, like let's say the person wants to go the Tyler Perry route or just want to be completely independent, it's you gotta have to take some loans out and stuff and some grants, because if you want the film to be quality, because now I'm seeing a lot of films on Tubi TV, they're going through some type of company called Film Hub, and they're just putting out their own films. And I said, well, I mean, that's great, but it's like it is good that you got the training because you know what the difference is between each one. Because what's the difference between a producer and a director? Like I'm like, and to this day, I still don't know exactly difference. So maybe you can tell me. I know the directors do, but the producers, what are they doing? Like what?
There's a bunch of different kinds of producers, right? So there's the lowest levels, like the associate producer, and that's kind of like a courtesy credit for, like, that's like just bonus work. You have very little responsibilities, and maybe you're taking more marching orders from different types of producers. But so the different types of producers, so there's the producers that are like your boots on the ground producer, who are actually helping you get through physical production.
Mm,
And so that's critical in its own way, because you need the people who are real hustlers and are out of the box thinkers to problem solve and have solutions and anticipate things ahead of time before cameras roll and while cameras are rolling. So that's like the people that are with you in pre-production and on set, and maybe some of post, or at least weighing in post in some way. And then there's like your creative development producer. So I'm working with some of those right now in my feature film.
mm,
So right with them, we are like doing notes and having creative sessions, and they have like some creative say and power on like what is final in the script, but we get to throw ideas off of each other, and we're just all collaborating on that level. And that person is also working with the boots on the ground producers, who don't have to be there on set every day, and they have the option to be, but will also
mm,
come in on the tail end and help with like marketing and distribution and all of that. And then there's
mm,
the executive producers usually mean like these are your big shot money people or major favor people. So if like you see major casts coming into your movie, like let's say, I don't know, maybe you want to get John Malkovich to be in your film, and he's like, okay, well, he wants to also be a producer, unless like it was some friend of his that got him to be in your movie, he gets to be an executive producer, because without a big actor, that you don't get to have more money because of what this can fetch in the box office and internationally based on his name. So executive producers are all really translating to money, or
mm,
maybe they're in the studio system, and on that studio level, they're deserving of a certain type of credit because of that.
mm,
So, and then there's like co-producer and co-executive producer, and those are people like in between or on their way up. And so there's all these little ones in between. They all have
mm.
jobs to do. So as long as they're active, like I'm happy that
Yeah.
you get your producer credit as long as you're active and you're deserving of it. There's a big scandal with the Academy Awards with the movie. Oh, what was it?
Mm.
Uh it was a huge ensemble. Oh, Crash. I don't know if you remember the movie
Oh,
Crash.
Crash with Ludacris.
Ludacris and Don Cheadle.
Okay, yeah, I remember that. That was a
Great.
good
This
movie.
is a huge ensemble, great film. I actually was in a writer/acting class with the producer and writer of that movie. So he was an Academy Award winner. I'll talk about that too at some point if we have time. Um, and
We might go over time a little here.
I know I'm a little long-winded, but I have like this is quite a journeyman's career. So it's like this is what it takes to like get at least your first feature, at least in my
Yeah.
um anyway. So with Crash, they had like something like 22 producers or more on the movie, and they couldn't all go on stage, and they couldn't get enough Academy Awards, and it changed the way the Academy Awards had their best film and who could receive. So then all of a sudden you start seeing a credit having the PGA credit at the end of someone's name, knowing that
Mhm.
you actually did the work and qualified, and the Producers Guild went and looked into it to see you actually contributed to what was on screen. Because there were like a lot of vanity credits just being handed
Hmm.
out to everyone everywhere for like little things, and it was a mess. There was like so many people on stage, it was crazy. But yeah, so that's all the producers, and I've had a couple of those producers hats myself, um and different responsibilities. But uh yeah, so what ended up happening recently is that I had like 3 movies. I kind of got my act together just personally with like my own personal development and mindset and
Yeah.
habits and like routine. Like I got like super hyper focused on like, what does ultimate Evan look like? Like if you could
Hmm.
pick like, okay, Evan's stepping off his own private jet. What does he look like? And
All right now. Hmm.
what's his day? What's his day like? Like I really start to visualize that. What are the things I have to do? So
Yeah.
starting with like, you know, like exercise, early wake ups, putting the work in, make sure I'm reading every day, writing every day, exercising every
Hmm.
day, eating right every day, like all of these things without ever missing. Because my competition out there, the people who've already achieved, anyone you look into that's like an entrepreneur you want to be, they've all done these things. They've done that self work. They've built up
Hmm.
such a strong mind that anything that comes their way, they can absolutely
Mindset.
get.
Mindset is key before talent. I've learned. I used to always think, "Oh, I just gotta be great." No, my mind, I have to be confident, and your mindset has to be prepared because it's a lot of stuff that's gonna come at you in the entertainment industry, and you gotta be strong because you could literally be depressed with money, and that's something that nobody wants, you know?
Yes, absolutely. No, you're 100% right, because
Yeah.
developing this, getting your mind right, and being able to deal with any emotional situations, or something that might generate an emotional reaction out of you, you have to be able to keep that in check, because you need to stay calm, cool, and collected, and really assess the situation for what it really is, and not attach any personal bias to it. It's like you need to execute and move forward, and you can't come out of character or be triggered by anything. Just be like, I have to be like an assassin who's just like never going to come out of character. I'm just be focused, and nothing can rattle
It's
me.
that. Yep. That
It's
method acting, and that's one of the things I was gonna talk about too was method acting. Like there's a difference in people, I've been studying actors and stuff because I didn't really realize I wanted to get into acting till I was 25, but I just watch people and there's just certain people that are just beasts like Anthony Hopkins, Leonardo DiCaprio, Meryl Streep, Viola Davis. They're just they go in morph into that character, and I
Mhm.
think those are the best actors.
Right.
Like that you can just tap in, and it takes a little insanity, which that's why they have to take breaks. Like I don't know if you heard about Tom Holland and the Crowded Room and how he said, "Hey, I gotta step back now." And I watched the Crowded Room, and it was pretty intense. It was pretty
Yeah.
intense.
They,
So,
you get these actors, they're all in. They could put a lot. I mean, look at Heath Ledger. I mean, he went such a
oh
dark
yeah,
place. Okay, and it just
yeah.
still breaks my heart because he was such a talent. And you got to be able to disconnect from that. Otherwise, you can stay in there. You go too deep and too dark, it's hard to come out of. You got to have like a higher power, real deep spirit that you can tap into. Like part of my life is like prayer and meditation. Like I take that very seriously. If I'm not connecting to God, it's like then I'm going to get disassociated with like what's really going on in the world. It's like I have
Mhm.
like an order that I report to keep me in check,
You
right?
have to, and you can't just go to everybody, and tell everybody everything. Like especially in this industry that's kind of ambiguous. A lot is going on. A lot of people, man, I understand what you're feeling. They're like, you're just acting on TV, just talking, go away. But no, it's a lot involved into it. So you do, have to tap into yourself and talk to yourself and say, okay, this is not real. This is what's going on. Because I had to learn that, and even just being in tech, you have to. It's the same thing.
Mhm.
And I know you started a coaching program. Is that like helping actors or just at regular people too?
It's regular it's everybody. It's like whoever's
Okay.
looking to just like level up, get their mindset right. It's an accountability partner. It's going over like habits and discipline, and having like an ordered life so you can achieve your goals, and also have a sounding board. Like, because I do this with my twin brother. We have a coaching program because we went through all of the same things together at the same time.
That's
And we're like,
amazing.
okay, we have different skill sets that we bring to it. It's like, yeah, I have like the creative background, the director's background, all of that side of it. He comes from like a genius finance background. So we have like all the different disciplines that we apply to it to get people to win on multiple levels. But
Wow.
it's everybody, because what we're really getting after is we all have obstacles in our lives. And it's like, how can we like verbalize and put them out into the world and find practical solutions to push through them? And we're checking in with our clients like every single weekend. We'll have like a group call, or if
Mm.
you're on a different tier, it's a one-on-one call. But it's like all week long, I'm checking on like, are you eating right? Are you exercising? Are you doing the things we talked about? Are you reading these certain books that are trying to like
Mhm.
get your head thinking in a new direction, and keep that in front of you every single day? So all of a sudden, by like, 3, 4, 5 weeks in, you created a new habit that is doing nothing
Mm.
but serving you and making you a better person. And a big part of it for me, especially, one of my biggest flaws was just negative self-talk. Like
Yeah.
negative self-talk, like the weight of the world is on you and what you can't do, and you have reasons for this or that, or excuses you make, or
Mhm.
you start to drift into like any victim mindset. It's like, oh no, you're gonna get buried in that. And I
Yeah.
had to fix that. I really had to do the work, because sometimes some of us, if we've had some sort of traumatic experience, or if you've just had really bad upbringing. Like, I had a really horrible like stepfather figure who's in and out of my life, who's
Mm.
very abusive. And because of that, they imprint on you, and you just go to this negative place. You have an automatic negative response to something.
Mhm.
That's my constant battle. Like, part of what's going on, like especially in the gym and with fitness, is like you go to war with your thoughts in the quiet of your mind while you're exercising, because it's just you and some iron,
Mhm.
and you're pushing and fighting, and you saying, oh, this is too hard, I can't do this is getting difficult. And you say, no, 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 those are feelings. And those emotions are lying to me, and this is in charge, not my feelings. Right? So that's the war that's happening, and you're starting to like reprogram your mind and create these new psychological tracks in your brain. It's like a physiological truth that happens. So
Mhm.
you start to do that, and you're doing that every single morning. And then, because of like the endorphin drive that comes from that, and everything from exercise, like you take that for the next 12 hours into your day. That's what that does for you.
Yes.
So you have that battle waging, and all of a sudden you think you can just conquer and do everything. It's like, well, why not? Other people do it. Why not me too?
Why not?
Start
Mhm.
applying yourself and working hard, and you start turning into a little bit of a hunter or huntress, and you're trying to find these next obstacles to like get after and beat into their place, or win over. And that's how I got where I am, because I all of a sudden
Wow.
started taking on more. I had like 3 projects I was like working on all at once. And then because I was keeping up
Amazing.
relationships, and I was staying in touch with people from these other those workshops and those incubators, those film fellowships, staying in touch with them. One of them called me. It's like, Evan, that lunch we had the other day, he's like, we were both crying about your backstory and what went on in your life. And it's like, we have this
Mm.
script that all the same story points of things that you were experiencing. I couldn't believe like all the emotional twists and turns of your backstory are like the main character in this movie. We would love you to read the script. You're like an 11th hour ad for
That's
direct
amazing.
pitch, but can you pitch this in like a couple of days? I'm like, absolutely. So I'm like reading it multiple times, making all my notes, putting together a pitch. And then I pitched just the absolute daylights out of this thing, to the point
Dang.
they couldn't imagine anyone but Evan directing this movie. Like, he is so obsessed and emotionally connected to this. Who else could possibly do this? This is him. This is his movie. Now, it's not my movie. This isn't for me. I'm serving a big project because
Yeah.
I'm an ultimate collaborator. But that's what it took. And all of a sudden, this was like 10 days ago. All of a sudden, my life.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. This is a big deal, because all of a sudden, it's one of those like overnight success type things where it's like you plugged away for over a decade, and then in a few days, everything
So I
changes.
like that you said that. Like, what advice can you give to someone that's right now saying, because we got ageism in Hollywood and all this stuff going on. Like, how did you keep going despite okay, this taking so long and people are looking at you like, well, what are you doing and this and that? Like, how did you keep that grit? You know?
Oh, you gotta bet on yourself. You got to bet on yourself when everyone, because it's true, that stuff is out there, and but you got to also talk
Mhm.
yourself out of it, because I got to that point. I was like on IMDb. I'm like, how can I get my birthday off of this? People are gonna know how old I am. This is a bunch of BS. It's like stuff like that, because the ageism is true. And then also you get to a point when you do all that mindset work and you just say to yourself, I don't care what anybody thinks. I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm going to knuckle down. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to prove it to myself and to everybody else. I just don't care anymore. And I'm going to work hard, because everyone's been telling me, oh, if you don't make it by 23, you're not going to be a director. If you don't do it by 27,
Mhm.
you're not going to be a director. And they keep saying the film school's like, oh, if you don't make your first feature film after like 7 years, you're probably not going to make it. So, and then here I am. I'm like, you just can't take no for an answer. Like, are
Mhm.
you betting on yourself? Oh, the other thing is, what took me so long were all these like highs and lows before I did the mental work, because I was always looking for a plan B. This is so
Mhm.
hard. You lose so much hope that you're like, oh, okay, maybe I'm gonna start this baking business, because I became like an expert baker during COVID, and I was about to go on the Great British Baking Show to be on a reality TV show for
Oh,
baking.
wow.
Yeah, and me and my wife, unfortunately, we had a miscarriage, and it was like a heartbreaking moment.
Sorry.
And so I had to like pull out of the show, and it was just bad timing. And but I also look at it as that was also God's timing, because if I had gotten on that show, it's filming right now, and I would not have got my first movie. And it's just
Oh,
like
see.
things that just blows your mind when you think about it. Like
Mhm.
it's like this is your plan, and this is God's plan for you. It's like,
Yeah,
trust me,
there's some dots that do connect,
right?
and
It's
I
like,
think people
here's a better deal for you. Just wait, just trust me on this. And that not giving up. And also, like, those things happen, and you realize I took my eye off the ball, and
Mhm.
I have to be fully committed. Are you all in? Are you doing everything you possibly can? Like, when I'm a
Mhm.
director and I'm looking at cast options, I'm like, are they in class? Are they constantly working? Are they doing stage work? Are they doing commercials? Like, if they're not getting paid jobs, that doesn't bother me. I just want to see that they're actively pursuing their craft all the time.
Mhm.
Tools
Yes.
sharp. It's so important to keep those tools sharp, because all of a sudden it's going to come out of the blue one day when your opportunity arrives, and you
Out of the
have to,
blue.
right?
It like Will Smith said, you gotta stay ready so you don't have to get ready. That's what he says, you know?
Oh, it's so
And
true.
it's true, man. You just gotta stay ready. And that's how I look at it. I'm just we all gotta stay ready, you know. I know look, I've been focused on staying ready but it took me a while to get to this level. Cause like I said, the mindset thing, I had to
Mm.
get there, and now you're more that's how you attract more into your
Oh, so true.
reality once you get there.
Perfect word, attract more. Like it's a law of attraction. It's like what you put out and what you give away is what will come back to you. So if you're giving value, if you're giving like love and generosity out into the world, it's going to come back to you. And you just have to
Mhm.
trust the process. Just like if I go to the gym every day, I'll probably start looking better and lose weight, and like rewind the clock by 10 years. Like, but you have to stick with it for a while. So it's the same
Mhm.
thing, law of attraction. You got to put these things out there and just planting seeds, and one day there's gonna be a harvest. You can't put the seed in the ground and just be like, where's my corn? Like, you have to, yeah,
I know
like,
you gotta be patient. And then you can't listen to people that try to rush you, folks. So if y'all listen, don't listen to people that try to rush you because they don't understand the process. Just still stay steady, and
oh,
that's
yep,
you have to do that. So what
Koya.
are your thoughts on AI, like artificial intelligence jumping, into the mix here in entertainment?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I think it's a lot of the reactions to AI is just a fear of the unknown. I think you
Mhm.
have to look at it as this is a tool. Just like when people were afraid of like the internet happening, like, oh, this is going to change everything. It's like, yeah, you can either like adapt and get on board with like using websites and working online and doing this, or you're going to stay in the Stone Age like my grandma, who doesn't know how to turn on a computer and is like stuck in a corner all day waiting for people to pick her up. I'm like, hey, if you just like learned how to text on your phone and do these things, you'll be participating in like the world and how they leverage these technologies. Now with AI, I since I've used a lot of different versions of AI to just test it out to see what it's all about, I think it demystifies what's actually going on with it. So I've like looked at like Chat GPT, and there's like screenwriting like hack software out there. At the end of the day, it still feels like a robot when you see what they're generating. There's a
Mhm.
certain like cadence or rhythm to what it's putting out. You're like, people will see through this. Just, and here's a good example. With everybody, when VFX first came out, like in Jurassic Park or something, right? Everyone's just like, oh, dinosaurs look so real. I can't believe it. I can't believe what movies are amazing. It's unbelievable. Now, if you went back and watched Jurassic Park right now, I'd be like, that's pretty bad CGI, and that's a fake dinosaur leg or
Mhm.
whatever, right? And then like even like back in like, I don't know, 2012, and you're watching some of the Avenger Phase 4 movies, you're like, all right, I'm starting to see through all the VFX because now it's overkill. Now everyone is super trained up on VFX and visual language. So we can spot VFX like crazy. So when something like Oppenheimer comes out and we've gone back to
Mhm.
like this analog style of filming and it's everything you're seeing is real, people love that. They're connecting on a human level that they haven't had in a long time. So a movie that's 3+ hours, that has some very, very dry, long segments, can be just a total beast at the box office, is very indicative of, don't be afraid of the technology, because people will start to spot the fakes and we'll get back to the real talent, the
Mhm.
real writers, the real authentic human touch that's in these things. So for anybody who's worried about it, I say, don't worry about it.
Mhm.
I think when the studios are trying to like copy people's image and likeness, especially in the act,
Yeah.
like that's a desperation move, because the studios are not doing
Mhm.
well. They've pushed too much like checkbox agenda filmmaking versus just telling great stories. And
Mhm.
it's a part of like artist movements that have happened in the past. And like, if you look at just like art history, I think it was like neo, like it was during like King Louis in France, there was like the certified art that was allowed to be made and shown to the world. And everyone got tired of seeing just the approved art. Instead, people were going into the margins, into underground galleries, where like the
Mhm.
whole different movement was happening, where all of a sudden you're seeing like different color palettes and painting styles like Monet and impressionist artwork, getting away from like neo-realism artwork. It's like now we're seeing a whole different way that people see the world, and it's not approved, but this is going to be the next art movement that ends up lasting for the next 150 years. So
Mhm.
it's, we have to let the artists dictate like what's the new like taste
I
profile.
agree.
And this is what's going to happen with movies. It's, I already see the writing on the wall. What's going to happen like with every cinema wave is that it's what happens in the margins. It's like, who is growing and creating in the margins and making money there, and then the studios are going to look to that and say, copy that to death, please. And that's what happens. Like when you like in the, so like in the 1970s and 80s, you had like these indie filmmakers that were
Mhm.
making blockbuster stuff. Like Jaws was a little movie, believe it or not. It just, and
Oh
it
yeah.
totally killed, right? But in the 80s, all of a sudden you see everything like pumped up with steroids and just done to get to death. There's like these action movies everywhere, and they got totally away from like the message. Like you have like Star Wars, which is like, was a low budget film back when it first came out in 1977, and then all of a
Mhm.
sudden all of these crazy sci-fi spin-offs and Flash Gordons and all this, but it
Yep.
doesn't have the emotional touch and the heartstrings and the work it really takes to make those excellent. It got too far away from message. And it's like, oh, this looks like this, but it really isn't. And it's just done to death. And then in the 90s, you have like the 90s new wave. This is where you get like Quentin Tarantino and Spike Lee and Spike Jones and Soderbergh and David O. Russell and even Chris Nolan at the end of the 90s. These guys were not studio guys. They came up in the margins. They were putting movies on their credit cards and buying like film pieces and film ends just to piece together enough for every weekend they go filming. And next thing you
Mm.
know, Hollywood's like, oh, we got to do what these guys are doing, make movies like that. And so we're
Mhm.
a new wave. So watch the margins. That's where we're operating. So it's out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fertile ground. It's like it's the new Wild West. So it's exciting.
Yeah, I think it's a little exciting. Me being left and right brain, being this technical person at the same time, I do like using ChatGPT and stuff just to help me figure out how I'm going to say something. But I'm actually the one writing it. But I'm like, can you help me fill this up to understand where I'm going or something like that? You can use it as your assistant, and that's how I look at it because
That's
it
how I
has helped me a lot with a lot of stuff. So, and I
do
think
it.
that it can
It's
help screenwriters too.
for sure. If you treat it like
But
an assistant, like it's your own virtual assistant,
yeah.
that's the best way to treat it. It's like, just be my sounding board, or catch my errors or do whatever or rephrase a sentence slightly better, because someone's going to proofread that anyway and give you those notes.
Yeah.
Instead of waiting for a day or 2 or 3 to get notes and feedback, you can get it in 10 seconds. And now you've just become more efficient. If you embrace AI, use it as like an efficient tool, just like everybody else, then you'll start to like take off. And just
Yeah.
use it right and ethically, and you'll be okay.
Yes, I concur. And then far as I'm about to wrap it up. I know we're way over time, but the
Yep.
writers and the actors strike, like what do you think is gonna come of that? Do you think that the film company's gonna be like, all right, let's start paying us some more bread since we're streaming on Netflix now more? Or do you feel like you're gonna be like, go away?
It's hard to say. They all the
Yeah.
producers and content owners have all the power right now. They can just bleed
Yeah.
it out and wait it out because they have a library of so much content they can slowly release over time. It's like, oh, instead of making the 2023 like Dyson vacuum, we have a whole warehouse full of like 2021 that we're just going to put out into the world, and they'll buy it and use it and it'll be fine. So they
Mm.
could keep waiting it out. But it gives us opportunities to like work with SAG waivers, which is what we're doing on our feature film, to say, okay, we're going to go work with SAG actors, make a non-union project, and go compete in a space that's available to us and show that we can still make movies. We're not completely reliant on the studio system. So we're going to have to find creative ways to like work around that. So let's see. We kind of have to wait and see what happens. There's still a lot of
Yeah.
negotiating to be done. There's a lot of offended people that
Hmm.
aren't willing to have the conversations that are needed. So we have to take action. We can't just sit on our hands. It's otherwise we're going to have to all re-career and go someplace else. And I'm not willing to do that. I fought too hard for too
Mm-mm.
long to just stop now.
Yeah, just to, like people need to look. I guess that's kind of entrepreneurial to say, but I do think people could start, creating their own films, like getting it on Tubi and pushing it themselves. I mean, I just think that that's the route I feel like I'm going, and some others may start thinking that way too. But I know that's entrepreneur. Everybody's not entrepreneur. I get it, but I
Yep.
think that will be a better route because then you can get scripts you want and stuff like that. Because I've seen so many scripts and some I just don't even like, and like I don't want to do this. So if you want to do films you want to see, you have to create it and find a way. And sometimes that may be being in doing two things at the same time, like being in tech, high end in tech, but using the tech money to go into the art part. And that's sometimes everybody is not going to be able to do that, but that's an option to be able to still put out your art and do what you got to do and not to depend on the studio man to give you a stamp and tell you, okay, you can do this or not.
Yep.
So
Totally agree.
that's
We
one
got to
of yeah.
wear all the hats, make what we want to wait, what we want to see. And yeah, I think that's the solution.
Yeah. So okay, so before we get off, I'm just gonna ask you one more thing. What's a saying or quote that you go by?
Saying or quote that I go by. Oh man.
So
That's
many really.
there's a lot. I mean, to me, it's like you have to be fully committed. Whenever I start to
Mhm.
doubt or have any fear, I have to catch myself and just remind, it's like, hey, bet on Evan, bet on yourself. Sequoia, bet on yourself. Be fully committed, and like and trust. You have to trust yourself. And if you're not trusting
Mhm.
yourself, get these habits in place, these disciplines, these routines that are going to work for you. Start to prove yourself every single day that you're winning over and over again. So you actually do believe it. So bet on yourself,
Mhm.
trust on yourself, catch yourself in those negative thoughts and beat them back into the place where they belong, not in your head, but somewhere else. So, yeah,
Yes, and it's a constant situation. Don't feel bad if you have it. Just say no to yourself, talk to yourself, and keep it moving. Love
that's,
it. So I
yeah.
want to thank you for coming on here today. Oh, where can people follow you and support your films? And just or do they want
You know,
coaching?
I'm documenting everything on Instagram, so you can follow me at IG. There's my handle down there, Evan B Matthews on Instagram. I'm doing daily updates, and yeah, just follow me there. I'll talk about coaching program stuff there too. So just DM me. I'm very interactive. Love to share. So yeah, that's it.
Cool beans. There you have it. Thanks everyone for listening. Please subscribe and share and be safe out there, y'all.